Hello, my friends. Today I wanted to bring up the subject of trust. And it was during the conversation that I had with one of my students, where she was telling me about a situation where she felt lack of trust in the relationship with her loved one. And so I wanted to talk about that today because as I was to respond to her, I mentioned that for me there was two aspects of this to acknowledge. There was this one aspect which is, all right, what are maybe the rules that we have together as a couple for both of us to feel that we're, trusting each other. But then there was also the other part, which is actually what belongs to me in this. Okay, so there's like what belongs to us, so in a way to you, the other one, but then also what belongs to me. And what I mean by that actually is, where am I with trust when it comes to just myself as well? And it was as we came to this point that it seemed a little bit blurry to her why the idea of trust towards herself mattered, or maybe even more, what does that look like if I don't, and what does that mean? So, which is perfectly understandable, because I think that the idea of trusting oneself as a quote is something that we all hear and experience, but then when it comes down to what it really means and what that looks like, and the fact that maybe we don't actually trust so much, it's a little bit more difficult and fuzzy to clear out. So I just wanted to give my take on that, and of course, as usual, I have my little notes next to me, so sometimes I look away. I could say maybe that trust in itself could be defined as a feeling of being secure, right? So when it comes to trusting someone else, it's a feeling of being secure with that other person, that actually they have our best interest at heart. It means that if I can be sure that they have my best interest at heart, then it means that I belong to them. So the essence, let's say, of trust can be a feeling of belonging, to be really going into the root of it. Because if we are the same, then you can't actually hurt me without hurting yourself. All right? So if we are the same, it means that I belong to you. I wouldn't hurt my arm because it belongs to my body, which is a part of me. And if I do, then I hurt myself. So when we decide to trust someone, it then also means that we lay down our weapons, okay? We show ourselves naked in front of the other person, and we show our flaws, because we know that the other person will not use what they experience or see against us, or to harm us in a certain way, okay? So if we would go into a broader perspective before we start talking about ourselves, if we would, for instance, trust the earth, if we would trust nature, then we would feel as if we belong in it, okay? We would not feel lost when we're in the middle of a forest. We would not be scared of insects. And we would feel as if the animals belongs to us as we belong to them. And in that sense, as a family, we wouldn't treat them, most probably, the way we do. The world in itself would obviously look quite different if trust was something that we all just had naturally. And just between us humans, we would not need to separate between color of your skin or the size of your nose, the size of your ears, if you have a penis or vagina, if you believe this or that, okay? We would not really have to compartment so much if there was a real sense of belonging with everyone, and therefore a trust. I wanted to bring in an expression or a quote from Einstein. He said that our most important question that we have to ask ourselves is if we decide that we are living in a universe that is friendly or unfriendly. Okay? And then he continued by saying that if we decide that it's not a friendly place, then we would use our technology and our science to create safety and power over the universe. And so that would mean that we would be building walls to protect ourselves. And it would be a place where technology would be so powerful that we would either isolate completely from the rest, or we would finally destroy ourselves. And well, I don't think I need to say more when we see how we're doing, that trust is then obviously not something that seems to come very natural to us. Okay? So, when I feel that I belong, because we can also say, of course, well, I belong to my family, right? And that's true. And we can definitely feel a sense of belonging with the family. If I feel that I belong, then that feeling of belonging also needs to be a safe one. And what I mean by that is that I need to be able to feel that I can have myself the way I am at the same time as I belong to you. Okay? So it means that if I take you on, then I accept you for all that you are. And you will accept me with my flaws and whatever I have imperfections, and say that all of that belongs. And this is where it becomes difficult, because what I just said is basically what we would describe as unconditional love. Yet we have, most of us, not really experienced unconditional love. On the contrary, we have mostly experienced, I love you if you do this. Or I love you despite, or, even though I love you. Okay? So we have, most of us, always been taught from the first days that love came with conditions, and sometimes pretty heavy conditions as well. Now you might feel that I am harsh when I'm saying that, but imagine something really quite common. A quite anxious parent, all right? A mother hen, like we would call it. A child will quite quickly realize that it needs to maybe even give up on some of the things that it believes would be best for it in order to feel that it belongs to the mother, right? And so you need to modify, or you need to let go, or you need to separate yourself from things. You learn early on that to belong might not be easy. It actually takes work. Or the dad who is, I'm saying a dad, but just to take another example, can be a mother as well who's very busy. The overly busy dad coming home from work. So to get his attention, it can be very hard, and you can feel as a child that maybe you need to manipulate yourself to get his attention. So maybe you need to be the one who's always happy, and whatever you get, you will always be happy about it. Or on the contrary, you will be the one who's always difficult, so that at least you get the attention. Or maybe even you will always be sick. There will always be something that's a problem, right? Because that way you will get the attention. And what it means is that trust that we belong comes with conditions. So it is an issue for most of us easily. So even just the thing as the body that you're living in, if you would ask yourself, how much do you feel really that you belong to your body? Or is it maybe that you treat actually your body as an object, in the sense that, have you ever gone training some kind of thing when you really don't feel physically well for it? Or overdo it, push a little bit harder because, just because. Well, just because what? Because then you will be what, enough? Then you will deserve what the reward is to be accepted. So even with our own bodies, we aren't actually often in this relationship of belonging, where I accept you fully with your imperfections and whatnot as a part of being me. How often has it happened to you that you see your reflection And either you look away quickly, or the first thing you will do is start to look for what's not right. So, how do we deal with this then? Okay, because there it is, and it's basically the part of everyone's life. And it's not hard because it's hard. I mean, it's not easy, on the contrary, because it comes down to a very deep feeling of maybe I don't belong, because maybe I'm not worthy of belonging. Okay? And what this means is that the feeling that you come into, okay, that puts you in this, starts from somewhere. And it starts from a place that you have practiced so many, many times over the years of your life, and it starts from thought, okay? It starts as soon as you begin to question what is going on. So for you, what this means is actually that you need to start with the thought and question the thought instead. How valid is actually the thought? Okay? That's one of the first things to do. And I know that it's very difficult because we have been trained, of course, to trust that whatever is going on in our thoughts must be reality. And the thoughts will most probably not disappear completely, okay? It is more a question of developing a different relationship to your thoughts. And when the thoughts of unworthiness comes up, this way where I probably can't trust because probably I don't really belong, you have to remember this. They won't disappear completely. I just have to learn that those thoughts are just that, thoughts. And it does not necessarily define a truth or reality per se. So it means that when it comes to the relationship that I have with other people, when I'm not sure that I belong, I am not sure of my worthiness, and so I don't know if I can trust the other person. And that becomes very hard because actually I cannot control their actions. So the fear of even trusting that person, so in my thoughts, is there because I can't control the outcome of their actions. So if I take my clothes off and show myself flawed and imperfect in front of them, I'm not sure what will happen because it is not in my control. It's not for me to do. Okay? What I then need to do is that I need to learn to put less importance in their actions. Okay? And when we talk about being the bigger person, for me, that is really actually what that means. It means I need to be so big that what you do will not harm me. Okay? It means that your actions must not necessarily define who I am. So I can choose to let my guard down. Okay? I can choose to give my trust. Or I can choose then to always be on my guard, always in my starting block, defensive, with the risk that someone might try to hurt me. Okay? What is the difference between the two? Laying down my guns, showing myself vulnerable, or sticking to my guns and always be prepared. Their actions might not ever change, okay? But how I am experiencing it will definitely change. So, the only thing that I can do is to develop a capacity to not lose myself no matter what they do. Okay? if I can say to myself, I will lay my weapons down and show myself to you. But no matter what you do, I still have myself. Then, all of a sudden, there's less at stake, okay? And so what this means, because as I'm saying these words, I know that you know that that is true. But yet when we're in the situation, all of a sudden it's hard to take it for truth. Because what we need to learn, and this is the most basic truth there is that the other person's actions or words, they do not define me. What do they define? They define that person. Just the same way that my actions or my words only define me. So basically, what it means is that there's a work of creating a space of safety that you come from when you're in the meeting with the other person, okay? And that space of safety that you come from starts with observing your thoughts, noticing when the thoughts of distrust comes in, and then being capable of questioning, is this a valid truth?